welcome to Knifemaking Downunder podcast. This is episode 5. Today we've got a very special guest with us. We've got Jamie Bishop, who's known around the world as the Sausageman. So it's going to be good to have a bit of a chat with Jamie. He's sitting here right next to me at the moment, so we're going to bring him in on the podcast reasonably soon. So as usual, presenting the podcast, you've got Corin Urquhart, who's with Gamico. You've got Mert Tansu from Tansu Knives, and you've got me, Kevin Slattery from Kev's Forge. How you guys going? All right?
Yeah, good, man.
Yeah, going well, mate. Very busy, but going well.
What's been happening in your worlds in a brief way over the last week since we last chatted?
Well, I'll go ahead. I just finished I plan to bring a wood knife to Sydney Knife Show, but I haven't had a chance to finish it. So this week I managed to finish it, and I made a matching saya go with the ironwood. So that's all I done this week, and I took a pictures of it, and that was pretty much my week. I'm quite happy the way it came out, and so I just want to make something a little bit different than just like making a Japanese style. I want to make it my own style representing myself, so I made that one, and that's pretty much all I've done this week.
I heard a rumor.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool knife. That was a cool knife.
I heard a rumor, Mert, that you're going to make a sword, mate.
Look, it's yes and no. I would love to make a sword, but one thing is, because I make kitchen knives and I use Square for my payment system, the second I will announce that I'm making any kind of knives other than kitchen knives, like if I say that I want to make hunting knives or swords, Square will block my account. So this happened to a friend of ours, Chad, 2 years ago at the Sydney Knife Show, and Square found the one picture of a hunting knife Chad ever did, and they claimed that there was a weapon, and they were not supporting people who are selling weapons, and his account got shut down. Although
we've got a way around that. No, we've got a way around that.
Okay, well...
Yeah, you just tell them that you're making a pork sword, and they won't know. That'll be a food-related product then.
Food-related. I think I'm going to have a hard time trying to disguise like a big-ass sword and this is my carving knife.
Tell them it's a Kransky sword. Cut up Kranskys. Yeah. What have you been up to, Corin?
Mate, this week has been insane for us. There's a lot of orders going out the door. We're totally snowed under, and we've had a whole lot of other things going on and resolving a lot of business issues. As people are aware, we haven't been coping lately, so we're just in the process of changing a whole bunch of processes. This sort of thing needs to happen when your business model changes as much as ours has in the last 5 years, where we've gone from sending sort of 10 or 15 big orders a day to 70 to 100 small orders a day. So it's it's just a process problem, and we're trying to get on top of it, but it's been hard going. And then in my spare time, knife making related, I've been working on my die filer. So you can see that on Instagram. I've made up or Facebook as well. I've made up some holders for the files, and I'm about to organise a bulk buy on files so that I can get some files, and that's pretty cool. And the last thing was, on Tuesday night, I happened to be in Melbourne, and I went to the Melbourne Knife Makers Meet at Le Monde Hotel and saw a bunch of great people who make great stuff. So that was a really good fun Knife Makers Meet. Get to catch up with everybody and have a few drinks and good feed and listen to some music.
So is that a regular thing? Because I haven't really heard anything about a Knife Makers Meet up in Melbourne.
Well, the funny thing about these meets, Kev, is that somebody has to organise them. And I was going down to Melbourne, so I organised one. But it would be really good if somebody in Melbourne... if somebody in Melbourne...
Because I was about to say, the first time I saw that there was a meet up in Melbourne was through your fucking thing. So obviously, yeah, that explains that.
So I just said, anyone want to come? And we got 6 people at 3 days' notice, so that was all right.
That's good.
It's Sean McIntyre and Christian Matheson, Sam Passy, Dom DB Blades, and Rob. Mate, it was a really nice night, and I probably drank too much and probably said some things I shouldn't have, but that's what happens. So, it's all good. Yeah. This weekend,
Sounds like, yeah.
This weekend, Christian Matheson's having a meet-up and a hammer-in at his place through for the Guild, I believe. So for those that are members of the Guild, and he might have extended it further, but mostly I think it's for the Guild members.
Yeah. So I reckon what we do is we'll give Christian a call, maybe part of our next podcast, because they will have had that event, and we can get a bit of a rundown on how it all went. Because, Christian, for those that don't know, Christian, basically almost worked himself into the ground with his role in the Guild, and was always really proactive, or is really proactive with this sort of stuff. So he's a busy man with what he does work-wise, so it's pretty freaking awesome that he puts his hand up to run these events. And from what I've seen on his Facebook post, there's a reasonable amount of interest, so it's good to see. Like I said, if you don't organise this stuff, it doesn't happen. And if you don't show up to this stuff when it is organised, it won't happen. So anyone out there that's listening and, thinking about events in their local area, why aren't they happening? Because no one's putting their hand up. Jump on board, and if you can, pick a pub and go down and tell people to meet up at a pub and have some drinks, talk shit. It's a good way to meet those around you.
It's all it really.
So sorry, that was yeah. And I when you guys had them up at Sydney, I drove up a couple of times, up and back, just for the, I guess the challenge of doing that, and it was good fun to see everyone up there. So, if you got them in your local area, that's like an absolute bonus, I reckon.
Yeah.
If you got enough knife making. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say the Gamaco ones will kick off again. I would say as the summer months come on, they're talking about it. You remember we used to move all our stock down into the bottom room, and then we used to bring people up the back, and it was all pretty sketchy, which is, it's me, right? So what do you want? But now we've got this truck all decked out with lighting and everything in it. The plan is to set the truck up, put that out the front, and then everybody can sort of come and they can go up in the truck. But I think the guys are just a bit soft and waiting for some warmer weather. So
yeah,
they're talking about.
Well, you guys don't even understand. Even in Sydney, you don't understand what winter is. So.
You there, Mert?
Yes, I am.
You there, Kev?
Yeah.
Sorry, just seemed to glitch.
Yeah, we're here.
Cool. Just a shout out for Christian, Matheson_knives on Instagram.
Yeah. So our shout outs normally happen later in the podcast, obviously, but I think he's deserving of an early one, and we'll shout him out again and give his details at the end.
Yep.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys have had, a decent amount of stuff on for the week. I've had a bit of contact from people since the last podcast that they listened to with my entertaining story about how I minced my thumb up. My knife making week has been almost non-existent again. My mate Brad from down here in Canberra, Brad Heathcote Knives, we'll give him a shout out later. He popped round last night, and that's the first time I've been in my workshop for the last week, because I'm still trying to avoid infecting this thumb. And I realised, picking a few things up, that I'm probably still going to be a little bit away from doing anything, because it's still, reasonably tender. Jamie's sitting here looking at my thumb, shaking his head and nodding his head and just looking at it pretty grotesquely. But it's coming along. I'll get back into it.
Can I call you Littlefinger? Can I call you Littlefinger from now on?
Well, you can call me. I'd prefer that you call me Tom Thumb. Or not, actually. Yeah. Hey, so as I said just then, we've got Jamie Bishop here. Jamie's really kindly come to Canberra. He was meant to come down for a number of things, which plans have all changed, but he's come down to deliver me a new piece of equipment for my workshop, which is pretty awesome. I managed to score a wall-down drill press. I put the call out online a little while ago about, needing a benchtop drill press. And Matt McVicker actually found this one for sale at a really good price, and he wanted some parts that went with it and didn't want the drill. and I wanted the driller, not the parts that came with it. So we got all excited until we realised that it was up in Newcastle. So I put the shout out to Jamie and Riley and Co. And Jamie kindly put his hand up to bring this drill down to me. So I'm going to be a member of the Walldown Club. I'm not sure how that's going to work for me. I'll probably end up drilling a hole through my fucking finger. Seems to happen. But yeah, he's with us now. And I thought it was, hey, kill two birds with one stone. While Jamie's here, let's have him as our guest on the podcast. So welcome, Jamie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, no worries, mate.
Sausageman.
Sausageman.
Yes, I've definitely been feeling the Knifemaking Downunder podcast love. You know, every now and again, it'll my name will crop up. I have no idea why, but obviously you guys love my sausage, so you know it's becoming a bit of a habit, I think.
There's video evidence of the fact that I get very excited when you walk up
more
behind
than one
me.
photo.
Yeah, when you walk up behind me with your sausage out, and especially when I'm near Mert. So there seems to be this little triangle of going on between you, me, and Mert. That Mert and I tend to fight over your sausage.
Oh yeah, no. Well, you guys definitely dial it up to the next notch.
Okay. People don't have some ideas. Jamie, why don't you tell us how this Sausageman thing started? Because when I tell people like, Jamie's here, they're like, who? Jamie who? I'm like, Sausageman. Like, yeah, we know him. Tell us how the Sausageman thing all started.
Let's not mix the truth in, and let's hear from Jamie about how he became the Sausage Man.
It was simply the fact that, you know, we used to take Kransky or Trutzo or whatever when we're camping. And then one Easter, you know, you're in a camping area. It's normally for about 100 people. And there's probably 1,000 people there, and everyone's camping on top of each other. And I pegged a couple of young fellas that were in the camp next to us going to be rowdy that night, you know, because that's what I was like when I was their age. So I did a bit of a fry up the old sausage and took it over to them. And lo and behold, 10 o'clock that night, they're all starting to fire up, loud music, carrying on, throwing bottles and stuff. And so I went back over with another plate of Kransky, and they're like, oh, yeah, Sausage Man, how's it going? And within, 2 minutes, I hadn't convinced to turn the music down, and because the kids are trying to get to sleep, and everyone was happy, and no one got the head punched in. And so the old Sausage Man was born just out of, necessity of not, I don't want to be a fighter if I don't have to be. So, we worked it out that way. But every time I go camping, I take the old sausage along, and we're at Ironfest. And I noticed everyone wasn't having any lunch. So I thought, well, fuck it, I'll have a fry up. And I took it round, and everyone's just like, that's awesome. And then the next thing out of their mouth was, you're never coming again if you don't bring the sausage with you. And so I'm like, well, okay, this is a thing now. It's my buy-in to turn up to things is bring the sausage along. So, yeah. And the old, exactly. Well, that's just an extension of what we were doing previous to that. So, yeah.
And that's kind of where, I guess Sausage Man for me was the first knife show that Jamie was at. And rocked up with the fry pan full of the Kransky and stuff. It's like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then, that's what we associate the Sausage Man with now. And his fame's actually gone global.
There's no idea how.
Yeah, there might have been a little bit of assistance in the whole process, but his fame went global, and he ended up with a Sausage Man Forge Instagram page and a Sausage Man Forge Facebook page, if I'm right. And, we got friends over in America that all of a sudden were contacting Jamie and liking his posts online. And, oh, mate, Jamie, he was starting to get a little bit worried, actually. Who was one of the key ones?
Oh, the biggest one that's, always hammering me about stuff's Mr. Jeff Fetter. He keeps, chiming in on my Instagram posts, which is pretty funny, just random. And I'm pretty sure I got Kev to think about that one because, there was a couple of things Kev posted that, and Fetter's like, who's this Sausage Man guy? And it's just like, yeah. So, I'm just blown away by that stuff. It's just me, doing my thing, and you're getting random stuff like that, we're hanging out with some Scottish blacksmiths at the Artist Blacksmiths Forging in July, and so those guys are like, yeah, anytime you're in Scotland, swing by and cook us some sausage, and I'm like, oh dear God, here we go. So yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah, I remember getting a message from Jamie going, hey, there's Jeff Fader stalking me. I'm like, don't worry about him. He's all right.
I wouldn't say stalking, but I found it. It's just like, who am I for him to be chiming in? But I really like the gesture because it means a lot. That and he's definitely a fella that's good, up for a good laugh. So I like it because it's means that we're all well rounded and we're all fucking good blokes that like having a laugh. So
I think so. But you were at Blade Show with Bjorn and Creative Man this year, with and all of us guys were there as well. And you would have got a chance to meet these guys face to face. How was that?
Oh, that was it's one of those things where you go all fanboy and get too excited and almost flap your arms and piss your pants because you're so excited, as opposed to going, I'm just going to play this cool. So I look like one of those guys that come up and go, even though you're having a conversation with a person you really know, I'm just going to step in between you so I can get a selfie with you. And I'm like, I'm not going to be that guy because those guys are irritating as fuck, aren't they? I mean, really. And there was Kevin Mareko doing, bicep bloody poses and, just so much stuff, and it was funny, the first night there was a random dude with a big Bowie knife in the bar, and there would have been 10 people there, and he's flashing it around. I thought, that's the craziest shit I've ever seen. In a bar in the middle of a hotel, there's a dude with a giant knife, and no one, it's just normal. It's just perfectly normal. And obviously that's Blade Show, and I took a photo of this random guy, put it up on my Instagram, and then someone's gone, you know who that is? I'm like, no idea. And then apparently it's one of the dudes that was on Fortune Fire as a host. And I'm like, oh, that's random. And he loved the fact that I had no idea who he was because he's like, I hate that shit, so it worked out really good. So, yeah, it was, it's just one of those places. If you know the American knife making industry and the few guys that are punching out stuff on social media, then those guys are there, and they're normal blokes like us. They're obviously really good at what they do, and they're masters of their craft. But just because it's on Instagram doesn't mean they're not, normal people doing normal things, and they love to have a beer and a yarn and talk shit like the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll agree that with that association by saying the normal blokes like us. With the like us part, they think the Aussies are a bunch of nutcases. Well, it's just because we go
like us.
We'd like to go and have a good beer and a good drink and a good talk and arm wrestle at 4 o'clock in the bloody morning.
Well, yeah, well, okay. Well, what can I say? If you're going to have a party, you may as well have a party.
Oh yeah, 4-day party. So the disappointing thing, I guess, in terms of you being the sausage man, for most of those guys that were there, was there was no sausage to bring out.
Man, I tried. I spent all of Thursday driving around, went to Costco, went here, went there. Obviously I didn't have the inside info, couldn't find Kransky anywhere. I was devastated.
Yeah.
Once I couldn't figure that out, I was just like, well, I'm not getting a fry pan and a cooker for nothing. So, but I'll be there next year. We can probably piece it together and
they eat brat, or bratwurst as we call it here, brat.
Yeah, well,
and it's not bad sausage, but it's not cheese Kransky.
No, well, there's nothing like that, is there?
Yeah.
And that's why we do it. It's good.
Can you import cheese Kransky to America? Is that a thing?
Yeah, imagine getting held up by the TSA because you got a bag full of cheese Kransky.
You can find it there, Gordon. You can find it there.
You'll have to smuggle it in, mate.
Imagine those fellas, why you got all these sausage, boy? Then they're putting the rubber glove on. What else?
Oh, yeah. In your carry-on. Just your bag would be diverted in security, and you'd just be like, oh, shit.
Here we go. Yeah, no, I found them to be awesome fellas. They were really good fun, and everyone was so generous with their time. And then, of course, there was all the crazy South Africans. They were...
Henning.
We were almost... we gravitated to them, they gravitated to us, and the Americans just looked on going, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, I reckon. There's some really good people there, and it's a funny thing. Like I said, one night with your sort of, your inhibitions down, drinking alcohol and talking shit with these guys, and it's funny how it can actually just then suddenly you've just got this friendship that starts from it.
Oh, look, like Henning Wilkinson, like
Henning, the bastard.
Oh yeah, yeah. Always. You just hear across the Blade Show, you'd be walking along, you Aussie bastards. But Henning, mate, he is an insane knife maker, making some absolutely beautiful gear, and yet I consider him a good friend now. He's talked to him at least once a month and message backwards and forwards regularly, and it's good, and it's good. And again, I'm still blown away that I've got guys like that even, considering messaging me. So, it's a big growth time for me, personally. But, if you turn up to these things and you put yourself out there and you're generous with your time and that sort of stuff, these guys, the genuine people will come along and support you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was Stuart Anthony Smith. I'm going to give him a particular mention, along with Niels Vandenberg, who have been friends of mine for probably 10 years on Facebook, but I'd never met until this year. And I particularly love Stuart's shirt, which I was trying to get one, but it had on the back of it, I was making knives before it was cool, or something like that.
Yeah, forging before it was cool.
Yeah, forging before it was cool. Yeah.
Didn't you get one of those?
Oh, you bastard! You didn't. Did you?
Yeah, I did. For anyone that's listening right at this moment, wondering, why that's a big point, we tend to have this thing going between Corin and I, unofficially, of course, but he who can get the most Knife Maker T-shirts wins. I think Corin's still leading probably, but at last count, when I did have a look, my wife was basically saying we need to get a bigger house to create the T-shirt room.
I've got the same problem.
And when I came home from Blade this year, one of the first questions when I opened up my suitcase was, how many T-shirts did you get? And I was like, not many, a few.
Yeah, I have a lot of T-shirts. I don't know if I have more, maybe, I don't know. But when I built the shed, my wife she pulled all the T-shirts out, threw them on the floor and said, now you've got somewhere to put them. So I had to move them out to the shed. But anyway,
Nice.
That's all right. Yeah. So
we wait. There's apparently rumour that there's a Sausageman design T-shirt going to come up soon. So I think we're all going to we're waiting for that one.
Yeah, well, let's just say a couple of fellas who are involved in the Knife Art Association, one of them being Riley Burns, just one day said, you need a Sausageman Forge Instagram account. I said, why is that? And he goes, so I could easily populate your Sausageman Forge website. And I went, but I don't have a website. And he goes, yeah, you do. Anyway,
Jamie, you need your own sausage brand, bro. I'm telling you, you need to start doing your own merch. Like, come up with your own sausage line. How about that?
Well, allegedly, and I've got a sneaking suspicion, although he will never admit it, that Andrew Smith has done some artwork for that. I briefly saw for a few seconds Riley flash me a photo, of some bearded lout with a frying pan as a cartoon character. So, and I'm like, is that a thing or is that? And he's like, oh no, it's something.
It's a something.
So I'm thinking that there will be something happening very soon, but it's a process, and once we get to the end of that process, we'll be there. But I think if I put an order of 20 shirts in, they're already gone. There's a few people putting their hands up for them. So,
Yeah, you better be doing a pre-order.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess with 3 or 4 to just say thank you to Jamie for constantly keep fixing the shit that I break in my shop.
Yeah.
Well, Mert, it's back at you, mate. I'm happy that you let me, practice my grinding and forging, and I'm blessed that you spray me in hot borax. It's.
Is that
I
code?
baptize you with the
No,
borax.
that is not code. There is a video proving that that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, cheeky bastards.
There's a lot
But,
of people. In all sincerity, Jamie, there's a lot of people that owe you thanks, including the whole industry, mate. When you come up there to places like Ironfest, Jamie's a qualified electrician, and everyone comes up and they enjoy the grinders running, and they enjoy watching the power hammers and the forges with the electric blowers and all of that sort of stuff. What they don't realise is, without guys like Jamie and Troy from Now and Knives, who also assist with that stuff wouldn't work. These guys put their hand into their pocket in their own time and make everything work. And, mate, big shout-out, big vote of thanks from me. And also Jamie's delivery service, which I've used as well. It's a good one, isn't it, Kev?
I can't wait for the Sausageman delivery service to come out.
Yeah, right.
I can't wait to see that, man.
I want to see
the big
Kransky stat.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Here you go. Now I'm going to be on Uber Eats or some shit like that.
Kransky's to go.
Uber deliveries, Uber anything. It's just going to be on there. Now, I guess further to that, it's going to lead to Mert having a bit more of a chat to you, because I've seen some stuff on Instagram. But I think the first time we met was at Everly Works, yeah?
Yes, sir.
So was that last year or the year before? I can't even remember. Some time ago anyway, in the last year or so, Everly Works had an open day on Easter Friday. So I jumped on a Murray's bus, or a coach for those of our American people listening. I jumped on a coach and did the 3-hour trip up to Sydney and went along to Everly Works just to have a look and have some fun. And it might have been Riley that introduced us. But I met this Jamie guy who'd made a blacksmith knife and needed a bit of a hand forging. And I'm looking at this dude straight away thinking, holy shit, man, this dude looks like that bloke out of fucking Lord of the Rings. And I'm not talking the tall dude that sits on the horse with the sword. I'm talking the dude that lives underground, digging out shit and hunting down dragons that eat his gold. So I'm giving Jamie a hand. We went round and had a little laugh that I'm looking at this guy, this massive beard, and the first thing he does when he gets onto the grinder is tuck his beard into his shirt and does the buttons up so that his beard didn't get stuck. So my first questions are, Jamie, they're fun. It was good. But since then, that was the first time I think, I don't know if it's the exact first time I did a knife.
That was the story behind that was we had a forging competition at the Knife Symposium, which for everyone out there, I'd done one class at Everly, went to the Knife Symposium as my first thing in knife making, other than dicking around when I was like 15, 16, chopping shit out of, old bits of mild steel. And then, so my second iteration in the knife making was taking that knife that I clearly didn't finish because Troy smashed it. And I finished that blacksmith knife off at Everly that day. And it was the weirdest feeling because I turned up, there's no one forging, and Matt Mewburn goes, oh, you've been here before. You're the most qualified person in the room at the moment. Start forging something so the punters have got something to look at. And I'm like, I've got no idea what I'm doing, mate. He's like, doesn't matter. You've done something here before. Off you go. And so I finished that knife to a point where we hardened it and just flame tempered it. And I said to Kev, I need to put an edge on this. And Kev's like, yeah, man, we can do that. No problem. So, that's where it all began, not more than 18 months ago, I reckon. Yeah.
And then recently, this is where I was leading into with that as well. Recently, Mert, you can take over here because you've been doing a bit of stuff with Jamie.
Yes.
In your workshop.
Well, I gave Jamie the pleasure of fixing the stuff I break in my shop because my shop is full of dust, and despite my old efforts to keep it clean and dust extraction, like when you do like 6-7 knife handles, dust gets everywhere. And I had my VFD broken, my rolling mill motor died, and Jamie came in, and also while he was there, we ended up doing we did a semi forging. So I was forging semi, and while Jamie was there, I showed him how to make a semi billet, and he made his own billet, and 2 days ago he came in and we heat treated it, and he ground it now. And I think he took a knife home that he's gonna hopefully post pictures of it, right, Jamie?
Yeah, I've got it with me here, mate. Yeah, so
We're going to fix it up.
yeah, well, I'll put my hand up and say I was on the last belt and had about one pass to go, and I burnt the tip like a complete amateur. So
it was like 210, 220 millimeter chef's knife. It was a Japanese style gyro, and we were at the. Was almost done, like one more pass, and like I'm trying to grind, but I'm also watching him, making sure he's not doing anything silly, and or his beard doesn't catch the grinder. I turn around, there's like a giant black spot in the middle of the blade, not just on there, like in the middle of the blade, and he's
devastating.
He's devastated, but he had like a 1 or 2 passes. We could have gone to hand sanding straight from there, but that last pass, and he was devastated. I end up shortening the blade a little bit and bringing it to the same spot that he left. But yeah, grinding is the hardest part of knife making.
That all happens. It's a part of the game, isn't it? I mean, any of the new makers that are out there listening to this, post heat treat grinding is something that you've just got to get in and have a go at, and you'll probably screw up a few blades and make them smaller and reheat treat them and do a whole lot of other stuff, or chuck them in the bin and start again if it comes to that. So it's definitely, shit happens, really.
Well, it's like any trade. You just gotta learn from your mistakes and then try not to do them again, and then ask the guys that know what the hell's going on. Why do I keep making the same mistake? And that's why I enjoy hanging out with you guys, because you're like, yeah, you pushed in the wrong spot there, mate, and it's just like, yeah, okay, that wasn't obvious at the time, but now it is.
Well, the hardest thing with the grinding is purely muscle memory. It's muscle memory. Like I grind comfortably in my shop because I know my grinders, and I set my benches quite high, which didn't help Jamie because we had to get a little crate or something. And when I square my shoulders and like I hold my elbow like 90 degrees, I'm at my platen. I'm right at my platen. I don't have to lift my body. I have to do nothing. Like I just have to stay there, and I have to go from left to right or right to left, whichever I'm grinding. But grinding is a muscle memory. I offered some classes a while ago, and I had people coming in doing semi-knives with me. Some people had experience, some people had little, some people more, but everybody struggled with the same thing, grinding. If you're not grinding knives constantly, if you're not comfortable, grinding is the hardest thing to master. Forging is easier compared to grinding, or hand sanding a blade. That's just grunt. Well, not with the forging. Obviously, you have to be more precise, but with the grinding, it's muscle memory. You stay there for a split second longer, you over grind it, or you burn your edge. So grinding is, I think that takes the most repetition.
Yeah, and it's that same thing though, as you were saying, Mert, like with your setup. Even if you're an experienced knife maker, and you go to someone's workshop and it's set up completely different, it throws you right out. Yeah. I had that when I went up to Chad's place one time. He was looking at me like I was like an absolute fraud, to put it nicely. He was probably looking at me, like I was an absolute bloody spack, because I jumped onto his grinder, which was a lot higher than mine, and just the whole thing felt awkward. And I was trying to grind these blades, and it was like almost like I was a beginner because the setup was just completely wrong. And you'll hear people say, if you're an experienced knife maker, you should be able to front up to anyone's workshop and do a good job. It doesn't matter, but I guarantee you, it bloody well does.
There's still adjusting period. Like his grinder might be like, I think your grinder was a 40. Do you use 48 inch belts?
Yeah, I use 48s. Yeah, I'm on the 48s.
Yeah, I think the size of your platen versus his, and how like it's just different. It's similar. For example, when we did the dagger course with the Kevin Cashin at the Everly, I have the same power hammer that Matt Mewburn has, the 25 kilo Enyang, but mine is elevated higher than his, and I had so hard time controlling it. It's the same hammer, foot pedal, everything same. I just couldn't control the way I could control mine, because the the distance of the pedal of the floor felt different because mine is higher. Like I had to like kind of get down a little bit, then the push on. And yeah, although if you look at it, yes, it's the same hammer. I should be feeling home, but I didn't.
Yeah. I was just saying, yeah, while we've got Jamie here, although he's not going anywhere technically, but while we've got him here next to me, I guess from someone's perspective that has been to the knife shows that's not selling knives, but sees a lot of the new stuff that's coming through, especially this year. What are your impressions, Jamie, of where the knife making industry is going in Australia for custom stuff in particular?
I think, and especially it put it into perspective for me when I was at Blade Show talking to a lot of the guys over there. They are envious of the Australian knife making scene because for the most part, most of the Aussie knife makers are very generous with their techniques and, sharing their skill set and how things are done. And okay, maybe not everyone shares every little nuance, which is fair enough. You've got to have your own style. But I think it comes back to the old term, all ships rise on a high tide. I think that stuff that may have been top end, 4 or 5 years ago is somewhere, like the top's getting further ahead. And the new guys coming in, their first knives off the bat are generally of a higher standard than what I've seen in the last 2 years or so. I've probably been lurking around for 3 or 4 years on the forums and stuff. And so, yeah, so there's a lot of guys. I reckon there was probably, half a dozen guys at Sydney show. It was their first show.
Yep.
Jeremy Hayward, for one, it was his first show, but he's a tradie. He's also been a chef. Or worked in a kitchen. And, he's been making knives for a long time, but Sydney show was his first show. And from what I understand, he sold out, there was a couple other fellas that were there that, their knives weren't to that standard, but their price also reflected where their knives were at. And I didn't think they were asking too much. You always see someone that turns up with a knife that you would consider a $250 knife and they got $500 or $600 on it and it doesn't sell. And there's a reason for that. So I think going to a show and seeing the people is the best feedback because they will tell you straight away whether they think it's worth it or not. You always get the person that will come in and lowball you and you shouldn't let that put you off. But if you've got 100 people come past and they all go, I think it's $100 too high, then maybe they know what they're talking about, So yeah, and I do get to see a lot of the show because I am running around with a fry pan talking to people, and a lot of it's only glances here and there, but you see the tables with one knife left on it, and you see the tables which they got all the knives that they started with in the first part of the show. So I think you need to test and measure the audience. You need to not be scared to drop your prices a little bit, and sometimes you need to hold out for that right customer. If you know that your fit and finish is as good as anyone in the room and you've got a bit more money on that knife, then you just need to wait till the right customer walks up. And I guess, I don't know whether that's going to help anyone or not, but, to me, it's also a very vibrant, from what I understand, the Sydney show was the biggest so far. And so it's growing, it's something that I'm really enjoying being involved with. And the crowd of people, the Australian knife making community is the best community I've ever been involved with in my entire life. So it's good to be a part of it.
Yeah, cool. That's saying something. You guys got any other questions for Jamie?
Oh. Well, when is he launching a sausage brand?
Yeah. we might talk. Jamie and I might talk about that this weekend because I want shares in it.
Oh, look, guys, I do have some mates that have got a farm that they, funnily enough, they made salami, I think, on the weekend that City Knife Show was on. And I'm like, couldn't you put it off another week, guys? But yeah, so it's there's possibilities on every front. I mean, it comes back to how much bandwidth you've got. You know, doing what I do. Sometimes I'll go to an event where I'm supposed to be doing something, and I spend more time cooking sausage than I do actually doing what I'm supposed to do. So, and it's my thing, and I'll run with that. And
I don't think you'll have any shortage of volunteers. You know, if something does come of it, I don't think you'll have any shortage of volunteers, you know, helping you out, want to see something come of it. Because something that just started as a, you know, like I said, good planning on your part to make your stay at the coast with your family nicer has just gone up like a fucking helium-filled balloon and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think it's unreal. Like I sit back and have a laugh. And our guest last week, who was, you know, one of the funniest people I've ever had a conversation like that with, was Michael Cthulhu from Big Heavy Swords or Big Giant Swords or Big Fucking Swords.
He is funny.
The Jenga Man, which Corin, I never got a chance to say, Corin, you probably, anyone listened to the episode with Michael Cthulhu, there was not a sound problem in that with all the stuttering things from me. It was just, I couldn't get a word in edgewise because, man, he is a laughter. He's got a story that goes a million miles an hour. But he talked about his website that he did, and it has the Jenga. He's standing naked behind the Jenga block, and the little piece falls out.
He sent us the picture.
Corin, I was trying to say to you last week, Corin, didn't get a chance to get it in there, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to play Jenga at your house again, ever.
No, I know, right?
It's just not going to happen.
I looked at that picture and
once...
thought, the first thing that went through my head was I'll put it up on Facebook, and then I thought, no, I better not put this up on Facebook. It is.
I'm just worried that if I'm at your place and we're having family game night with your kids, and they go to bed and the whiskey comes out, things are not going to go well.
Dick Jenga. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You got to see the picture. If anyone wants to see it, you know, I just got to find the appropriate forum on which to put it up, because we've just got onto Facebook, we've just got onto all of these great things, iTunes and everything, and you know, having pornographic pictures of Mike playing Jenga may see a short end to our podcast.
It's the funniest gif I've seen in a long time. I laughed and laughed at that one.
Come on, mate. I took it as tasteful art, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, well, Jamie, what was it like meeting your like alternate universe twin?
Oh, it was it was like the dwarves of Moria had come to life and were walking weapons. It was pretty funny.
Yep, keep going.
No, go for it, mate. Sorry.
I got a question aside from Mike. Sorry, I can't get that image out of my head, and I just want to change the subject. How are we going to bring, like, the Aussies at Blade Show? It's become a thing, right? In the pit every night. We're there in various states of inebriation. Mate, how are we going to bring sausage to the States? I mean, I'm serious. We don't necessarily have to smuggle it in, you know? We don't need any cavity surges or anything like that. How are we going to make Sausageman Forge present sausage at Blade Show?
Yeah, buy from them, man.
I'm genuinely disappointed that I didn't put more effort in last time. It just got a bit too much.
Jamie. We were too, you know.
But I reckon a decent sized tip to the kitchen staff at the restaurant next to the bar would get us access to a fry pan and a hot plate. I reckon we could do it.
Yeah.
I reckon we could do it. I reckon that's the plan of attack for next year is to get Sausageman delivering sausage.
I don't think entirely necessary to do it during Blade Show, but in the pit.
In the pit, I mean, the pit would be funny.
That'd be hilarious.
It'd be a start. I'd like to see
how big.
You'd need one of those push
how big
trolleys.
the Blade Show, though, mate?
You'd need one of those push trolleys like they sell hot dogs out of.
Imagine that, I'll get mobbed. it's crazy enough when you got the punters at Sydney Show want to have a handful of Kransky, and I'm like, okay, no problem. You imagine 10,000 people. Imagine that lineup that's out the front of Blade Show that goes all the way down, round the corner, out the street, down the first block, and you're like, yeah, I'm taking this sausage to these guys. They'd be like, I'm breaking the line for that stuff.
People would camp out an extra night just to get some sausage from you.
That was the craziest thing over there, wasn't it? Just camping out just to get in. Yeah. So
yeah,
I guess if you got a certain market.
I felt really bad walking past them all going in before it opened.
I didn't. I loved it thoroughly. It was awesome.
Absolutely.
But that's the good thing about working over there. You're on the inside, and it's makes it a different experience, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
well, I guess we talk about on the podcast. Well, we're only into our 5th episode, so of course we talk about it a lot because it's still pretty fresh. But we do talk about Blade Show a lot, and I've said it a couple of times. I encourage anyone that can get over there and experience it, do it. It is a really, really cool experience, and I don't think anyone that's involved in knives, whether they're a knife enthusiast or whether they're a maker, would have any regrets about going over there and just seeing what it's all about. It's a completely mind-blowing experience. I mean, what was your first impression, Jamie, the first time you walked into that main hall?
Just blown away. I think I pretty much walked through the door, stopped with my mouth hanging open, and then I picked up my phone and went, I got to get a photo of this, and took a video, and I just panned around. And then I'm like, and that's about a third of what you can see from that front door that you go into. So all the big giant booths up in the back corner, and then you just sort of all the Master Smith tables just blend in across the distance, especially because I'm not super tall like you bastards are. So but it's overwhelming, and hundreds of different tables of varying types of stuff. Damascus tables and antler tables and timber tables and all the different kinds of stuff. I mean, Corin, you were there with Paragon, weren't you? And they were incredible. Just the layout they had sitting there. It's and the fact that we got there sort of bump in on Thursday, and there was sort of a quarter of the stuff set up, and then by Friday morning it's full.
Yeah.
It just, those guys know how to set up fast. And same on the demo, they just. It emptied out like pulling the bathtub, plug out of the bathtub. It just drained out so quick. Everyone packed up and got the hell out of there. So,
yeah. One of the other things, Jamie, that you were talking about with your travel over there was trying to find somewhere to do a course while you're over there. And one of the things that I was, completely envious about, jealous of even, was that you went up to the New England School of Metalwork and did a course up there, and that was with who in particular?
Mr. Nick Rossi, yeah.
Mr. Nick Rossi. I met Nick only briefly. Like, I followed Nick's stuff for a long time, and I love it. It's raw sort of work, but the guy's like fucking talented as ever when you see what he does. But I met him briefly the first time I went to Blade Show, and I had one of those fanboy moments myself where you're like, he was looking at my knives and saying they were nice, and then introduces himself. Oh, I'm Nick, and you look at the name tag and you're like, oh fuck, it's Nick Rossi. And you're trying to contain yourself because you're a grown man having a 13-year-old girl moment like with the fucking boy bands. But what was your time like up at that New England School of Metalwork, mate?
Yeah, it was funny. New England School was awesome. Getting there was a bit of a thanks American Airlines. That was awesome. Got an impromptu day in Philadelphia, and I ended up rocking in at 10:30 at night. And yet once I got on site, seamlessly got into my room, was ready to go the next day. I still the old time thing. So I was up at like 4:30 in the morning, wandering around Auburn, Maine. In the industrial area, trying to find something to eat. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, once we got going, Nick's straightforward sort of guy, really incredible instructor.
Yeah.
And his generosity was overwhelming with his knowledge and with his skill, and even, you know, took me out to lunch at the pub, you know, afterwards, and took me shopping for some camping gear that I couldn't find. So, you know, it was just, you know, I just had an incredible experience, really, really enjoyed it. And, you know, I'm heading back to the States next year, so I'm looking at, you know, the next place I can go onto a course at, because, you know, that's what it's about, getting...
So I heard there was another little rumour or story that I heard, mate, we might quickly touch on, because we've been talking for a while, and got no dramas with that, because it's not particularly boring. We'll find out otherwise. But I heard a rumour or a little story that it could have been interesting, given that he's the Sausageman, but you had an interesting time getting out of a particular city due to some parade or something that was...
Oh, yeah.
On?
Wow.
Well, what happened there, mate?
So, left Auburn, Maine, went to Portland, Maine. Sort of did from the bus stop to the airport, dropped off my bags, went back into town, you know, did the Uber roundabout sort of thing, and then went down to Old Port, which, you know, sort of a bit of a tourist mecca. It's a bit like, you know, going to Salamanca Place at Hobart. Old buildings, you know, good coffee, sort of sat down, you know, my Uber driver showed me the 3 or 4 different places that I should check out, which was awesome. And, you know, and I noticed lots of rainbow flags everywhere and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, oh, yeah, cool, you know, everyone's out and about, you know, being proud. And then I asked someone, and it started getting busier and busier. And I'm like, so what's going on? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's the Gay Pride March today. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. And then it sort of figured out it was going to be at midday. And about 10 to 12, I worked out that the march was going to be marching between me and my route back to the airport. And I didn't know how long this was going to go on for. And I'm like... I've got 10 minutes to haul my tubby ass up a hill to the other side so that I could get an Uber to get out of there, because I didn't want to get stuck, because, you know, that could go on for 2 hours and I don't get to my flight, you know. Obviously, Uber guys might have been able to find a way around, no dramas, but I had that moment of panic, like, I'm going to be stuck again and miss my flight.
You can imagine the headlines if that happened, though. Sausageman gets stuck in Gay Parade.
Oh, well. You know, worst things have been said.
How's that for like mad fucking adrenaline rush panic that you're going to miss your flight? You've already been delayed overnight one place thanks to the airlines, but then your fault for not paying attention or not being aware is that you missed your flight because you got stuck in the middle of a Gay Parade.
Well, it almost got a bit hectic. I got to where I thought, okay, I'm on the other side of town, got on the Uber, and then all of a sudden, like 700 dykes on bikes come and surrounded the Uber. And I'm like, oh, we're not getting out of here. So they turned left and we went right, and it was all good. But, you know, it was just for a moment there, I went, oh, this is happening.
Yeah, fuck, that's funny as. I got to say, I had a good laugh when I was listening to this story. I think that story outweighs the fruit fly story. Getting stuck in the Gay Pride Parade on your way to the airport.
You know, that's how it rolls sometimes, mate. You know?
Yeah. So we're going to cut you off a little bit, because there's other shit we want to talk about, and I'm sure we could talk to you for another half an hour fucking easily. But stick around. Like, you're literally like right here next to me. We're almost cuddling it so close next to this microphone. But we want to talk about, or between Mert and Corin and myself, we want to talk about tips and tricks and stuff about things in the shed. Now, Mert, you were saying earlier before we went on air, you had some stuff you wanted to talk about.
Yes. Well, okay. I've been getting some questions about other makers about like hey, how you sculpt the handle, how do you get the knife shape? So basically what I want to explain to people, like the way I work is I used to just wing it. I just like make a knife, forge it and grind it, and like, oh, I end up with this knife. Let me make a handle, and I'll just start grinding the handle. I wasn't measuring much in terms of like trying to make a handle or the blade, but then your work is not consistent. It's very hard to replicate. Just like back then when I was cooking, one of the most important thing in a kitchen was being consistent, like your food looking the same, tasting the same. The only way to make it consistent was using recipes, also having like standard things. Like you had to put you had to put 3 carrots to go with it, or had to be this big, or you had to go on a large plate. So how I translated this idea to my knife making is I'm using stencils. So anytime somebody's asking me about like, hey man, I like the blade shape, how'd you get to that? Or I like that your handles are looking same. Yes, they're looking same because I made the little stencils out of a perspex or a little plastic, this CO2 plastic. And when I'm done with my forging, or when I'm about to make a handle, I pick my handle material, put the stencils right next to it. So I know every time I make a handle, my handle's the same size. Or if I have a blade shape I like doing it, I make the same stencil out of a mild steel. So when I'm doing my forging, I can compare the actually forged blade to the stencil, that I know if I have enough steel or if I'm going too much or too small. So I know where I'm at. So by creating stencils, you can make your work a lot more consistent. So yes, making stencil might take you 10 minutes, 20 minutes, let's say half an hour. But that half an hour, you can make that time in like a month. Because let's say that you made a blade and it's too long. Then you go back to grinder, you fix it, or you make a handle, it's too short, too long. Best way to avoid it is just get yourself some stencils. For example, if I make a Japanese style handle, if my blade is 24 centimeter long, I make a handle stencil for about 14 centimeters. I measure it, I cut it, then next time I'm making a handle, that stencil is there. So I'm not going like how big I should be making it, how wide should be my handle, what should be my blade looking like. So make yourself a favor, guys. Just spend like half an hour, get yourself a little perspex or even mild steel or G10 micarta, whatever you want to use. Just make yourself some stencils. That will save you a lot of time, and your work will be consistent over and over, versus trying to find it, versus like winging it and trying to. Well, let me remember how the shape of the handle was.
There's a ton of resources available, like for blade shapes and stuff online. Yeah. And I always say to people, take the time to have a look and see what you like. And there's no harm in using a template that someone else has done, because if it's a good one, or if you think it's a good one, use it. All right, that's a good thing. Consistency is the key, really.
Yeah.
Good tip. I've got templates. The same thing, mate. I've got standard templates for my 4-inch or 4.5-inch hunters, and I've got some standard templates for the kitchen knives. Really, just saves you. You pick out a piece of timber, a good bit of timber, put your template on it, and you'll soon find out whether the timber's going to be the right size. So saves a bit of fluffing around.
It does.
Yep, absolutely. So,
Tyron, you got any tips that you want to offer?
Yeah, look, I just picked one up today. Okay, just as a matter of fact, and I was watching a guy called Pass Makes on YouTube, who I'm going to give a shout out to later, or I might just bring it forward because I'm talking about him. Look him up, Neil Paskin. Pask Makes on YouTube. Neil's basically makes all sorts of things out of scrap wood and so forth, but recently he's been doing a few knives, and he made one. I just can't describe the. I mean, it's a skeletonized handle. Did you guys see it at all?
Yeah. You sent the picture through. That was cool.
Yeah, so it's basically says Pask Makes in the handle, and it's all cut out and filed out by hand. And to get into the detail, and as you know, barrel knives have got a lot of detail. He simply took some Rhino wet sandpaper and just got some packing tape, put packing tape on the back of it, and then cut it into small strips. So it became tiny little strong shoe shiners that could get into nooks and crannies and clean out little nooks and crannies without breaking apart, which to me it's a game changer. I'm going to be using that one for sure.
I've seen that same tip on Instagram, but I can't for the life of me remember who it was.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, that was the first time I saw it, so that was pretty good. And the other thing is we released a new product during the week at Gamaco, which was Rhino Stick, which is Rhino wet sandpaper with PSA adhesive on it. So it sticks to your sanding stick, if you like. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's just come out.
I was kind enough to get a little bit of that to have a play with, but at the moment, like I said, with my friggin' thumb, hand sanding's an even more painful task than it used to be. So I'll get onto that. Hopefully, I've got a couple of plans to get back into the workshop slowly, but I'll get in myself and have a crack at that stuff, and hopefully be able to give a bit of a point of view for next time. In line with that sticky Rhino wet product, one of my tips that when I get people around here and we're doing hand sanding and stuff, is go onto one of the, like eBay or somewhere, and find someone that's selling various size scraps of aluminium bar stock, small, long, thick, fat, whatever, and buy a bunch of that and practice using that for your hand sanding bars. And when I got that Rhino stick, I was thinking that exact thing. Is like, man, this is going to be perfect. Yeah, it's going to stick on there. I reckon it'll increase or decrease the time taken, but probably actually give you a better finish on it too.
It'll be interesting to see. I've not used it. I've got a bit of a sample there, but I've made my knife for the year, so I have to slow down. No, seriously, I am going to make another one before the end of the year.
Well, time's ticking, mate. Stop talking about it and get it freaking done.
You guys got to hold me to account. I'm relying on you.
We will, don't you worry. And however large our audience base is now, they're going to hold you to account too. I see progress pics actually up on the Instagram page.
I've actually
and the website and on the Facebook page.
Yeah, I've cut some steel out, but that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's progress.
It's a start.
Now, one of the things that we've been putting it out there to people is, for questions and answers. Anyone's got any questions they want answered, or I guess when it comes to it, if we hit up a question and we're not real sure, I think Dr. Carl on Triple J quite often puts it out to his listeners that if anyone else is more experienced, feel free to send us an answer to a question too. But did we get anything through? I don't know if we got anything through. I think we're still fresh on this, and it'd be interesting to know, were there any questions for us?
I got one on Facebook, but it had something to do with someone's uncle's donkey or something, and I'm not too sure it was relevant.
Yeah, all right. I'm not sure if you're looking at the Knifemaker Down Under podcast page, mate, or something to do with Down Under Somewhere Else page.
Ah, right. Yeah, easy mistake to make.
You're looking at how to fix that rash.com. Hey, Matt, have you had any questions from anyone?
What's that, man?
Have you had any questions from anyone come through?
No, I didn't get any questions, but one thing that I saw on Instagram that I want to talk about is, like 2 days ago, I'm scrolling through Instagram. I see like people putting disclaimers. Don't forget tomorrow starts the Instagram rule where they can goes on, and like people getting paranoid saying that Instagram is going to start now owning their account and all the content, and people saying if you don't say like Instagram does not have my permission to share this. Okay, I need everybody to calm down. When you sign up to Instagram or any other social media service, there's a box. There's a box at the bottom saying that I read the terms and conditions. So I don't know how many of you guys read the conditions, but when you sign those conditions saying that whatever I put is yours, I'm using your service, thank you for providing your service, you got none of that. Okay, you got none of that right. Or don't go crazy about like all of a sudden Instagram is going to take your account with like 20 followers and yeah, I want to take this guy account and use all the pictures. No, that's not going to happen, man. And the funny thing is, many people that I know fell through. Like, it's not just the makers. It's like some of the athletes I follow, some of the public figures, and you keep seeing things stuff over and over. Like, no, man, it's not going to happen. Or that disclaimer you put, it's not going to prevent anything.
spend that time searching Instagram for giveaways and repost their pictures and pages, because that's going to get you a chance at getting something.
No.
Like you were saying, post up this stuff and people just have a laugh and go, for fuck's sake, really? I don't read the terms and conditions because I know that it's going to say somewhere in there, we own you and we own your product or whatever you're doing. And you want to use a service like Instagram, especially, you know, in a business sense where you're going to make sales. Hell yeah, they own you. You're getting something out of it. It's funny to see these things crop up every now and then. I don't know if Snopes still exist. You can go on and debunk a lot of these things pretty quickly if you want to spend 5 minutes on the web.
It doesn't even take 5 minutes, Kev. Doesn't even take
5 seconds.
Yeah. I was disgusted during the week when my own mother, a research scientist, an entomologist, and you know a member of Mensa posted it up, and I just put on there, "Mum, you're losing it. It's over. You know, I'm going to get you home."
I think Mert put it up on his story, tongue in cheek, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure I sent at least one abusive message towards Mert over it.
No, what I said was like, be careful from tomorrow now on. Instagram can suck your lives into countless hours of scrolling down for stupid shit.
Yeah. Hey, look, we're getting to that, you know, the tail end of our time to keep people interested. Although, like I said, with Jamie here, it's been very interesting. Any shout outs that you guys want to give to people that you've, you know, seen, heard, cool things done, have been nice to you or whatever? I guess now's the chance. Anyone want to jump in?
Well, yeah, I'm gonna give a proper shout out to Pask Makes YouTube channel. I think it's imperative that we do that because he gave a shout out to us in his video. Lord knows why, but he actually posted a link to our podcast. Now I'm going to put it out there. We've got about 6 followers now, so I think all 6 of you should duck over and follow Pask Makes on YouTube and Facebook and everything because. And Instagram because he is a top bloke and he does really great work and his little forays into knife making have taught me stuff because the guy comes at it from an approach that a knife maker wouldn't and inevitably you see him doing things and think, wow, like I never even thought of that as an option. So he's a great channel. Check him out. And thanks for the shout out if you're listening again, mate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, dude. Well appreciated. I want to give a shout out to the guest, Jamie, for being our guest, 2 for delivering my drill because he did have other things planned which aren't happening now. So he's made a special trip down. So I'll have to look after him this weekend. And I also want to give a shout out to one of our recipients from last week who won the comment about me being under the table, and that's Yeno, who came by my house the other day to drop something off for me, and he's made this. I'll post up a picture on the page, but he's made up this handmade, hand-painted Kev's Forge sign for my workshop, and it blew me away, man. I was, for one of the few times in my life, like speechless, stunned by how someone could, you know, take their own time to make something so cool just to give to you because, you know, they like what you do. And it was like really, really humbling. And he also brought around some of his dad's salami, which I'm going to share a bit with Jamie because, man, it's freaking good too. So big shout out to Yeno and big shout out to the guest that's right here, Jamie. Matt?
All right, mine goes to Riley Burns. He goes under the bespoke knife photography on Instagram. He's the guy, I'm sure we all talked about him. He's also has a role in the Knife Art Association. He took a few of my pictures when he kind of showed me how to take better pictures of the knives, and he's helped me a lot of times when needed. So I just want to give a shout out to Riley Burns. And anytime I'm talking about like buying equipment and he sends me the links, like, there you go, I found a used one for you. So he's doing his best to spend my money, but he's been a great help.
Yeah, I'll back that up because when I screwed my thumb up and went into that business mode of shit, this is gonna take time to heal. Riley hosts my website along with a number of others and does a fantastic job. So there's a little bit of a plug for Riley in that sense.
Yes.
But
He also made my website too.
Yeah, I just called Riley straight away and said, listen, mate, I've just fucked my thumb up. Can you go into the admin side of my website and shut my calendar down, because I can't have people book until I know what's going on. And he did, not only did that, but then gave me a list of all the people that were booked like close to that time that accident occurred, so that I could contact them and let them know what had happened and go with that. So that's sort of, he's a friend of mine as well. So it's the above and beyond stuff. But yeah, man, I reckon he definitely deserves a shout out for his role that he's playing in the knife community.
He's currently
His
the secretary.
Instagram handle is Bespoke Crafts Photography. I said it wrong. It's Bespoke Crafts Photography. He also made my website, so I'm really happy about it.
He's also the secretary at the moment of the Knife Art Association, and he's putting in a lot of hours, a lot of his own time into getting things happening. At the moment, he's working on getting the symposium going. As former secretary to the Knife Art Association, I know how much work's involved in that, and all hats off to him for having a go and doing a great job.
Right, you're the man.
Very good. All right, well, I've got to go and drop this sounds funny. I've got to go and give a friend a lift to the hospital. A friend that had a small mountain bike accident that ended up in a big injury, and he's had shoulder surgery. So he put a call out to me saying, could I take him to the hospital? And having had a lot of help from people in the last week and a half where I haven't been allowed to do anything, I'm more than happy to do that. So I got to disappear like in the next few minutes anyway. But next episode, episode 6, we'll go through and hopefully entertain you guys. We've got a couple of people on the list to contact to see if they want to be a part of our little thing here. And I can't give you who they are just yet, but, stay tuned to find out more. And hopefully we can have someone as entertaining as Sausageman along. Jamie, do you want to give a shout out to anyone while you?
Well, I've got a couple, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Well, Riley for one, like he's.
We've done that, bloke.
Yeah, I know. But, I'm here now because of Riley. So
true.
And one of his side projects, which is the Hunter Valley Hammering. We just do a small hammering with all the guys up in the Hunter, which is fantastic fun. And I just want to give a shout to Bjorn Jacobson, because I got to go to Blade Show on his ticket, so I paid my own way over there, but I got in the door because of him. So Bjorn and Creative Man, that's the reason I was there and able to go behind the scenes. So I really, really appreciate that.
And a good guy and supporter of the industry too. So, yep.
Indeed. Yeah. So anyone have anything else they want to add before we disappear? No.
Better say Toby Murrell too. He's doing his bit to help out with his YouTube channel. He's doing a lot for the industry, interviewing people at Sydney Show. So yeah, the Knife Art Association actually got him to do some interviews. So I'm glad we're going to be able to get out. Toby Fire and Steel on YouTube. So that's about it. Thanks everyone for listening. We've gone over. We're trying to get our podcast to about the 1 hour mark. We kind of fail a little bit, so thanks for listening. That extra 3 hour Joe Rogan. Yeah. Thanks for everyone for listening to the extra bits. But when you've got good things to talk about, I don't think you should put a time limit on it like that. So we'll get there, And we're on iTunes, and we're on Podbean, and we're on Spotify. And where else? Anywhere else?
You're on YouTube. Wherever you're listening to it, get on there, give it a review, tell us what you think. If it's a bad review and you want to tell us how shit we are, you can just tell us by PM. We're quite happy to take that. But we need some improvements. We know that. So tell us what you want, and otherwise, just give us a 5-star. Help us rank a bit better on those channels. That'd be great. Yeah, we'd love that to happen. That'd be awesome. Yep. Righto. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Kev. See you, Thanks, guys. See you, Sausage Man. Have a good one. And thanks again, guys, for doing this podcast. I've enjoyed every episode so far, so thank you. Good on you, mate. Thanks for coming in.